friends, my name is Rylie Schroeder. Welcome to my channel about all things living in Houston. I'm a local Houston real estate agent. I was also born and raised in the area, so I know Houston like the back of my hand. So be sure to hit that notification bell as well as the subscribe button. I do drop videos weekly, and hit the like button as well to help anyone like you who's curious about living in Houston find out what it's like from a local. If you're moving to Houston, you're probably wondering what the cost of living is. How is it gonna affect your family's lifestyle, and how are y'all gonna have to make adjustments, if any? So today we're gonna chat about that, all things from your electrical bill to gas to things to do that cost money, things that are free, so you can really understand what it's like living in Houston and what it's gonna cost you and your family. Guys, I have helped so many people move to Houston from other states, from other parts of Texas, and I would love to help you too, but you gotta reach out. So this number will connect you directly to me. Shoot me a text, give me a call, shoot me an email, whatever you are most comfortable with. Weekday, weeknight, weekend, I'm always available, and I have your back when moving to Houston, Texas. Let's start with electricity. So one thing that's really unique about Houston and Texas in general is that you can choose your own energy provider. So I always tell my clients to go to powertochoose.org. I do not partner with them in any way. It's just a great website to figure out what kilowatt price and things like that are gonna be best for your usage, your home size, etc. In general, electricity runs a little bit higher. We're running our AC a lot more because Houston is hot. So keep that in mind. For an average 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house, you're probably looking at $150 a month. And that's if it's a relatively new house with things like regularly changed air filters, newer windows, things that help with energy efficiency of the home. Looking at an older home built in the 70s or 80s, which definitely have more character, your bill's gonna be a little higher if those windows aren't replaced, if there's not great insulation in the attic and between the walls. I've seen it get up to $300 a month. And again, this depends on the size of your home. I live in about a 1,500 square foot house built in the last 10 years. And my monthly electricity bill is normally between $150 to $200. My mom, however, lives in a 3,500 square foot house, also built in the last 10 years, and theirs is closer to $400 to $450. So the bigger the house, obviously, more to cool, it's gonna be a little bit more expensive. On the flip side of that, I do have an Airbnb in Galveston. It's about 1,200 square feet, and it was built in the 80s. Does not have great insulation. There's just shiplap on the walls actually. I have replaced the windows, but the electricity bill for that runs about $300 to $350 a month. So comparable to my mom's much larger house, but because it's older, the electricity is much higher. Okay, so I mentioned you could choose your own energy company. I also mentioned electricity bills just naturally higher in Houston because we're constantly running that AC and it's trying to keep up with those 100-degree days outside. I also mentioned regular maintenance, like changing your AC filter. This is something you're going to want to do quarterly. They're not super expensive, but it may be an expense you're not used to, so something to think about. On top of that, regular maintenance that you're gonna wanna do in Houston is to get an exterminator. In my other pros and cons videos, I talk about how Houston has bugs. We got roaches, we have spiders, we have mosquitoes, and if you watch those videos, you know this is giving me the heebie-jeebies just to say out loud, which is why I get quarterly exterminations as well. The hope is that whatever house you're moving into is already getting those quarterly exterminations. Those are probably gonna run about $60 to $75 per quarter. If not, they're normally going to charge a one-time fee the first time they come out of about $150, I see is an average, just to do the full extermination, and then keep up with it quarterly. It keeps the cost down, but it is something you're gonna wanna budget for to keep those pests out of your home. Let's chat about HOA fees. This is very interesting. I've had a lot of clients, as I've mentioned, move in from out of state, and they're very shocked that most places have an HOA. So an HOA is a homeowners association. They're good in large part. They're gonna keep the neighborhood looking clean. They normally will handle the trash. They do have restrictions in terms of you can't paint your house blue, and certain roof colors you can and cannot use. I understand my dad changed his fence that was neighboring the main entrance to the community, and he used the wrong post. He didn't use cedar posts, so they sent him something and he had to change those. So we do have a lot of HOAs. It's very rare that you get an unrestricted no HOA community, and when you do, it kind of reflects that a lot of the time. Out in the rural areas where I grew up, it's a lot of farmland. People's homes are on a lot of acreage, very little restrictions out there. There's also places that have no restrictions that allow mobile homes and some other things, and you can see the neighborhood is generally a little run down. So an HOA is actually a good thing, but it is a yearly expense. I've seen HOAs range everywhere from $150 a year, which is almost nothing. It allows you to use the clubhouse, all the way up to $2,000 plus a year. So it completely depends on which community you're choosing, really how new the community is, and what the HOA is offering you. If you want to stay away from a high HOA, it is very possible. However, the high HOAs, they do come with perks, so it just depends on what's important to you. There is Lago Mar in Texas City, which has a big, I think the largest lagoon in all of Texas. It's like a beach walk-in. It is so cool. There's also Meridiana down in Iowa Colony, which is very popular. They have a restaurant that only their residents can go to, a little cafe, very cute, huge community with lots of new homes. So it just depends on what's important to you. Something to keep in mind is most communities are going to have an HOA in Houston. Let's talk about groceries. Obviously, groceries are something you're gonna buy every week, every other week to feed you and your family. However, Houston's cost of living is actually lower than the national average. Not a ton, but groceries in general aren't extremely high like they are in places like California or Hawaii even. So if you're moving from somewhere like that, you can expect a lower grocery bill. If you're moving from somewhere like Ohio, might be a little bit higher. But in general, our groceries are reasonably priced and depend on what's happening in the rest of the world. So eggs right now are super crazy. It's February 2023, and eggs are super crazy priced here in Houston too. The good thing is in Houston, there's a lot of rural areas. You can actually find a lot of people who have their own chickens and will give you their eggs or sell you their eggs for very cheap on the dollar. My grandma does this. I have a really great friend in Tomball who does this. I have someone else in Meadville who has their own chickens and hands out eggs. So that's a really cool part of living in Houston, is you got a lot of farm things going on and can easily access eggs or butcher meat very close to home. Okay guys, moving right along, let's chat about property taxes. So we do have property taxes in Houston, and they vary depending on things like the school district and how old or new the community is. So in newer communities with newer mud districts, this is the municipal utility district, which sets up all the water going underground, which feeds the houses. The newer that is, the higher the tax rate is going to be. So in the newer communities, you're looking at 3 to 4+ percent tax rate. I usually don't see anything over 5%. It's rare anyways. In older communities that are a little bit more established, you're looking at 3.5 and below. So depends on how that mud district is what it's called. And normally those taxes start to lower in those mud districts after 20 or so years. So property taxes are going to affect your monthly mortgage payment. It's normally escrowed in with the mortgage and with your interest. So keep that in mind. It is something that you can tailor your search around, and I've had plenty of people do it. If they're not interested in seeing a property tax above 3%, we can do that. You're probably not gonna get a lot of brand new communities, so you may have to decide between a brand new home or a really low property tax. Same thing with an HOA. A really high HOA is gonna come with probably a brand new community, and a lower HOA is gonna come with a more established community that's been there longer, where that mud or whatever it is, taxes have dropped off or lowered a little bit. So property taxes are a thing. We do not have income tax, which is awesome and different from other places, but we do have that property tax. and sales tax. So keep that in mind if you're considering moving to Houston. So I mentioned the cost of living is a little lower than the national average. Well, our average home price is also lower than the national average, and you can get some really good bang for your buck here in Houston for $344,000, which was our average home price in January of 2023. So I'm gonna talk about what $344,000 gets you in different parts of Houston. So we have the inner loop. This is generally the most expensive area to live. It also is where most of the businesses are, where a lot of people are commuting out and into. $344,000 could get you a nice condo. You're not gonna have a backyard. You're gonna have neighbors around you. It could get you a townhome. This is normally just a shared wall. Sometimes they'll have a smaller backyard, sometimes no backyard at all, but it gives you more space than a condo generally. Either way, $344,000 within the loop, whether it's a condo or a townhome, might be a little outdated. Might not be the most up-to-date kitchen or bathroom, but a great spot, great bang for your buck, all things considered. You're inside the loop for under $500,000, which is insane. A listing hit the market today in Houston, inner loop, for $36 million. What it's not gonna give you is great schools at that price. I can't speak a lot on that, but I always use greatschools.org, and you can check that out yourself to see what those schools rate inside the loop. Okay, so now we're gonna talk about the inner beltway, which is outside of the loop. Still pretty expensive to live here. However, $344,000 can get you something. Probably still talking a condo or townhome, probably still talking a little bit outdated. However, there might be potential for a single family home with the backyard. You're gonna be very outdated, very much older, but if that's okay with you, you can get something. So my first house ever was right here. It was $345,000, and it was very outdated. I ended up remodeling it, but I could have lived there. It was perfectly fine, a little patio home with a little backyard, had the best neighbors, and voluntary HOA, so I did not opt in. I did not want to use the clubhouse. It was just me and my dogs. So the pool wasn't important to me, but I was able to get that for $345,000. So let's move on to the suburbs of Houston, which if you live in Katy or Sugar Land or League City, you're still considered a Houstonian, so this is important, and a lot of people live out in these suburbs. $344,000 will probably get you furthest south or southeast Houston, or up in Humble, which is northeast. League City, Pearland, Humble, Kingwood are great spots to find a decent sized home that's moderately updated with a pretty good backyard in a good community with decent to great schools, depending on your opinion. $344,000 can get you somewhere there. Out to Katy, which is just blowing up and has been for years. There's a lot of new homes. $344,000 isn't going to get you as big of a home as it would potentially in these other areas like Humble or Pearland, but it can definitely get you a home. If being in the Katy city limits is important to you, you do have a ton to do for families. A smaller home and maybe not as favorable schools, again, depending on your opinion. Sugar Land, potentially a great spot to find a townhome or single family home for $344,000. You're gonna be really outdated and might be a hit or a miss. You might be waiting for a little while to find something like that. And when it does come on the market, probably gonna have a little bit of competition. Same with Cypress. I think somewhere you're not really gonna be able to find a decent home for $344,000 is the Woodlands. It's known kind of as the Dallas of Houston. It's a little more expensive. The cost of living is expensive. So maybe on the outskirts of the Woodlands, you could find something, but in the Woodlands, zoned to a great school, $344,000 won't get you too far. Nonetheless, I've named a lot of places where it will. There are plenty of options depending on your lifestyle. It completely just depends what's most important to you. Another living expense that just comes with being in Houston is the fact that you do normally have to commute. As I've mentioned in previous videos, most people are living in the outer suburbs of Houston. They're driving into downtown or Greenway Plaza, wherever it may be, to do their 9 to 5. So commuting is a thing. Commuting requires a car, and commuting requires gas. So you're gonna be filling up on gas more often. You can use Gas Buddy to check out what gas currently is at the time you're watching this video. And then you're also going to need a car. I remember When I was in college, I met a friend in Chicago who had never owned a car. They were 21 years old. They'd always lived in the city, walked everywhere, used public transportation. It's simply just not very regular here. So you're gonna have to buy a car. You're looking at 10 to 30,000 plus, depending on your lifestyle and what kind of car you're interested in. And you're gonna be filling that car up on gas probably once a week, depending on how far you live out. So that is definitely something to budget for and is a little unique to Houston and Texas in general. I don't find that gas prices are much higher versus other parts of the US, but we are filling up more. So you'll need a car, you'll need to fill that car up with gas. We do have a little bit of public transportation. You can do a $3 day pass for certain buses and trains. But a lot of people don't utilize those. It's something to look into further if you plan on utilizing them, if you're living near a metro rail or a bus stop. Most people don't. Most people are worried about that gas and the car in terms of commuting. And you know what else comes with commuting? That's tolls. We have a lot of toll roads. A lot of time you're getting on the toll road to get to work faster, to bypass all of that traffic. Those do cost money, normally $1, $1.50 per toll. So something to budget for, probably $50 a month at minimum, unless of course you're living in the suburbs and also working in the suburbs. You can avoid toll roads altogether. You can honestly avoid toll roads even if you're going into downtown, but you're gonna be hitting a lot of traffic and using a lot of side streets. So it's something to budget for just to make your commute less painful and easier to do day to day. Last thing I want to talk about, and this is kind of the fun part, it's things to do in Houston. Obviously, if you live in Houston, you're not just going to work and commute all the time. You want to live your life, whether it's just you or you're in a couple or you have a family. You're going to want to do things with them. So there is a lot to do for free in Houston. And we'll talk about those. We'll also talk about some things that cost money so that you can get an idea based on your lifestyle. So obviously, I've mentioned HOAs. A lot of times in your community, there are things to do. Because you pay the HOA, these are free. A lot of them have splash pads, the lagoon I've mentioned, parks, walking trails, pools, plenty of things to do within your community free because you pay that HOA. Outside of your community, still plenty of things to do. We have the zoo and the aquarium, which is a lot of fun. Obviously, those do cost money, as well as plenty of museums. We have the Museum of Natural Science right now. They rotate throughout the year. A lot of fun to go to and to change up the day-to-day, do something fun. Another thing we have is the beach, and it is free to go to the beach, aside from you're gonna use gas to get down to the beach, and a lot of times you're gonna wanna pack a cooler, eat on the beach, or eat whenever you get down to Galveston at one of the many restaurants. So in that way, it can cost money, but it is free to get on the beach in most places. Houston is huge, so we're constantly hosting new events. We have a lot of things coming to Houston year round, and we also have a lot of professional sports. So we have Astros baseball, Texans football, to name a few, which are a lot of fun to go to if you're interested in buying a ticket. We also host the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, and that brings concerts. People like George Strait, Beyonce has been, who's from Houston. Bruno Mars. This year we have Chris Stapleton. It's a month-long event. Does cost money to go. Ton of fun to go check out, especially if you've never been. And Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo is obviously unique to Houston, and it's one of the largest in the world. Definitely something to check out. Does cost money to get a ticket, whether you're just going to the festival or you're interested in the rodeo and the concert. But we have some great restaurants to go to if that's your thing. If you're a foodie like me. If not, you just want to take your dog to a park, let him run around. We have a lot of those. Buffalo Bayou is free. Herman Park is free, and it's hundreds of acres of just grassland. You can enjoy the sunshine, which we have a lot of. Bring your water because it's hot, but that is free to do. So plenty of things, whether you're on a budget or you want to explore the most Houston has to offer, totally doable. Obviously, a lot of what I've talked about in this video completely depends on your lifestyle and what's important to you. So reach out, let's talk, let me guide you. I have helped hundreds of people move from out of state, relocate with their jobs, and I would love to help you too. But the only way I can do that is if you reach out. So shoot me a text or email, give me a call, whatever is most comfortable for you. I want to have your back when moving to Houston. That's it for today, guys. Until my next video, I'll see you later.